G'day and welcome back, and we're now going to dive into the module on mindset. Now, I want to start off just explaining in very simple terms the three types of people that you are generally going to experience in business. Now, the first one, and this is who you want to be, and that is the entrepreneur. Now, this is a person who is focused, they set goals, they understand what they need to do to get to a specific point in their business. They are always pushing themselves, they strive for success. Even if they fail, which they will, and you will as well, in trying to establish your consultancy and building it into a very powerful machine, you will be faced with a set of failures. But the big distinction between someone who continues and is an entrepreneurial mindset, a rich mindset, if you like, not meaning that it's all about money, but they take full responsibility for themselves. They take full responsibility for every single action and event and situation that presents themselves in. So you want to be this person, and it's very important that you start to reconfigure the mind to start thinking like how a successful person is going to think. And we're going to dive deeper into this. Now, the second type of person you're going to come across is what I call the wannapreneur. Now, this is a person that wants to be an entrepreneur, wants a business, but quite frankly, they are not as motivated. They sit back and think that everything is going to come to them. They just keep conceptualizing in their mind that they're going to have a successful business, but they really have absolutely no idea about how they're going to do it. And they generally tend to look at everything that happens to them as someone else's fault. They find excuses to justify it not being them. So the third one is probably the worst, and that is what I call the ghost. Now, this is someone that really just blames everything on everybody else. And you need to think long and hard about these three types of individuals and how it seriously look at yourself and how that applies to you. So the ghost is someone that just blames everything that happens to them on something else. Like it's their employer's fault, it's their wife's fault, it's their husband's fault, it's their mum or dad's fault, or their brother's fault, or the government's fault. No matter what, it's someone else's fault. They look to blame because they cannot face themselves in the mirror to accept that what has just happened is a direct result of something that they have done, said, or taken action upon that hasn't worked in their favor. And the blame just starts to shift. Now, number three generally never ends up very successful. So you're probably somewhere around this point, and what we need to do is get you up to this point. If you believe that you're operating at point number one, great. If you're operating at point number three, there's quite a bit of work that you need to do. It's not the end of the world. It's not catastrophic. But if you have the willingness to accept and be honest with yourself, you can actually ascend. And it's so important that you take full responsibility for everything that you do, no matter what happens to you. There are very minor exceptions where people cannot control the situation. But for the vast majority, everything that happens to you will be as a direct result of some action that you have taken. So start owning up and facing the responsibility that has led you to that point. And once you do that, you can start to see how you need to change so that you can make a better outcome for yourself and for your future. So I'm going to be covering in the remaining lessons in this module how you can start to shift. It's not going to happen overnight. A lot of people have a lot of what I call mental junk occurring in their subconscious. So for those of you that are not aware, the brain is made up of around 5% conscious and 95% subconscious, and the 5% is what keeps us operational on a daily basis. The 95%, considering it like your hard drive of a computer, it stores everything that has ever happened to you in your life. And sometimes when you face an ordeal, face something, you pull those old records. Your 5% conscious brain pulls that 95% through, looks for similar situations, and that's where people start to operate within a comfort zone, because they see something that's hurt them before, or they haven't been confident enough to do something. They are looking at their future through a lens of what's happened in the past. So really, if we want to break through, we have to give our mind the ability to assess everything that is facing us right now in the context of the data that we are looking at, not to rely upon some historical event that may or may not be relevant to the decisions that we need to make right now. And this is just so important when you're going to be looking at commencing something new, because it's going to be outside your comfort zone. You are not going to have all the knowledge. You can be the best QS in the world, and hopefully you are. But if you've never run a business, you're going to face a lot of challenges that you have not been seeing or have experienced before. And this is where you need that mental junk to be removed as much as possible, and for you to focus on the data and the reality of what you are dealing with right now in today's environment. Because let's face it, none of us can change what has happened in the past. That would be a nice thing to have. I certainly would probably be one of the first subscribers to a service that could do that, but the reality of it is that you cannot. All you can do is you can control right now, because that's the moment that we live in. You can control how your future progresses by taking calculated, sensible, data-based actions, and set yourself goals as to how this is all going to eventuate, and not to be held back by limiting beliefs of stuff that has happened to you in the past. So to wrap up this lesson, out of all of those three individuals, you have to be a person who is willing and able to take responsibility for themselves. And this is really the most important part that I'm going to share right now. You have to be in this to win. I'll repeat that. You have to be in this to win. Now, what I mean by that is you have to tell yourself that you are going to win. There are no second chances. There are no runners-up prizes. If you are going to have a consultancy that you are going to be proud of, and you know that you can deliver high quality services to your clients, then you have to be in this to win. If you're in this with a 50%, well, maybe, I guarantee you this will not work. The reason why, you have to have 100% in this, 100% skin in the game. Now, this is all well and good if you're working, I'm going to delete all of this, if you're working in you know, your 9-to-5 job, for example, because it's kind of like a bit hard, isn't it, to, you know, dedicate 100% of your time when you are working for someone else. Now, I'm going to be covering this as well, but it's really the mindset principle that I want to stress, of you being in it 100% to win, rather than the time that you have in your day to allocate to making yourself successful, if that makes sense. So I don't want you to be confused in what I'm saying, or get, you know, mixed messages about that. It's 100% in it to win from a mindset perspective. We're going to cover time and time management and how you go about, because what I'm going to be suggesting later is that you do not just run in on a Monday morning after watching this opening module and say, I quit because I'm going to start my own consultancy practice. No, 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 no. Please do not do that. You have to be prepared to put in the work to build your consultancy on the side without conflict to your employer and without compromising what you should be doing for your employer. Give them full integrity. That's very important. But you're going to have to work simultaneously on building this until you get it to a point where you have enough revenue, predictable for the future right now and predictable for the future, for you to say, I don't need a full-time job any longer. Okay. Now, that's the mistake that I made. It all worked out in the end, but I made the mistake of just quitting my job. I didn't have anything, and I said, right, I'm going to work for myself. And luckily, and it was luck, I secured a major client in the first week, so didn't have any issues, but it could have been a disaster, and I certainly don't want to promote that to any person watching this micro course, and I certainly don't promote that to the larger program that I run as well. I generally look between a 6 to 12 month period to have your consultancy fully operational to a point where you can go full time. But mindset is the key, and taking full responsibility, as I've said, and being in this to win. Again, I'll say it again. You have to be in this to win. With that said, I'm going to wrap up, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.